Okay, everyone, Wednesday the 21st of February, and we're back with the morning briefing. I'm Hamish, Tony's there, and we've got Ryan back ready to sprinkle some positivity into proceedings. How are you, Ryan?
Things are good, yeah. Enjoyed my day off yesterday, but I'm back talking about Celtic, hopefully in a bit more of a positive frame of mind now than what I was the past few days previously. Got to remember it's really close between the two sides, and you never know what can happen in the remaining 12 games plus the Scottish Cup games. So yeah, coming in with a wee bit more of a positive frame of mind. It's Wednesday, we're looking at all the positives rather than the negatives, I think.
Yeah, it's just a case of looking forward. I think if we did another video looking back at Kilmarnock, we would all be completely miserable by the end of it, and everyone else would probably be even more miserable than they are when we're normally on. So we're going to look forward a little bit, and we're going to need your help as well, dear viewer. If you're able to, or you fancy putting in any topics or questions, we've had a few in already, we can tackle that, would be appreciated. Because disclaimer, there's not a lot happening at the moment, Celtic wise. Like, there really isn't. I mean, Mikey Johnson, we could spend 20 minutes talking about Mikey Johnson's goal last night if you want, guys. Do you fancy that? No?
Not particularly, no.
20 seconds, anyone? 20 seconds?
There's no positives because it wasn't at Celtic. He could have been doing that at Celtic. It's at West Brom, so
okay.
It's can only look at it as being so much of a positive.
Yeah, and that's literally like the only kind of story really, until we get a press conference on Friday or whatever, and obviously Motherwell on Sunday. We'll actually maybe start with the Motherwell game, Tony, because I think you were writing about a recent, a game against Motherwell at Fir Park. What a good, what would it be, 7 years ago now at this stage? I don't know if Tony's frozen or if he's just so happy. I think you might have frozen.
I think you might have frozen. Yeah.
Do you want to take it then, Ryan?
Yeah, that was a great game. I think it was let me think, 6-7 years ago now.
December 2016.
4, 5, nearly 8 years ago now, which is absolutely crazy. And there's Tony away. That was great. Great fight showing that day, to come back from behind. I think, was it Louis Moult that scored for Motherwell, or one of the goals anyway?
The first one, I think, was an absolute belter. It was like a lob, wasn't it, over the keeper, a volleyed lob.
Yeah, I've just got a wee message from Tony, by the way. His computer's rebooted during that live stream.
Right, okay.
So, pick your moments.
Ideal.
He might be back on in the next 5 or so minutes, but we can talk about that game. I think that was the game that really people understood how much heart the team had under Brendan Rodgers, to come back multiple times. Rogic, of course, with that last minute winner, wouldn't be the only sort of last minute winner that he would score in his career that season. That season there was a bigger one to come. But they're just look at the goal scorers on that day. Paddy Roberts, I think, scored. Stuart Armstrong, was it Paddy Roberts that scored? Yeah,
Roberts scored a header.
Yeah, he's got a header. That's what I remember. That was a really quick reboot from Tony. He's back in already. I remember Armstrong understanding the assignment as well. That's something that was maybe underrated in that season, because you look at how quickly Armstrong scored in that Scottish Cup final as well. So soon after Johnny Hayes put Aberdeen ahead, he was always there.
Ange Ball-like, almost.
Yeah, I always say that he would have been really, really good under Ange Postecoglou. He's just an all-action midfielder. I was a big fan of Armstrong when he was at the club. He seems to have carved out an alright career for himself down south at Southampton. It was a big game that day. It really showed the heart that was in the team, and I think it was a kickstarter for the rest of the season. They didn't really look back from that point onwards, and it was the sort of galvanisation that they needed from the fans to the team to the manager for everybody to be all in on that season, and they never stopped after that moment, to coin a popular Ange Postecoglou phrase.
Well, we just keep talking about the Invincible season for this video, guys, and just forget what's happening at the moment. I mean, joking aside, Tony, there's maybe that kind of, maybe I'm clutching at straws here, but is there that kind of spirit from that 4-3 win at Fir Park that the team can look at this weekend, that even when things are against you find a way to win that game?
I'd be showing them stuff like that just to kind of stir the blood and say to the guys who maybe not quite grasped it yet, look, this is what Celtic's all about. Look at those celebrations at the end. Look what that team went on to achieve. Rodgers was at the helm of that, so he doesn't need to be told about it, but he can channel that kind of energy, So sorry about what happened there. My computer just started rebooting just at the wrong possible time. You're at the mercy of technology at all times, but yeah, I mean, I say I've written an article which will appear on the site later today, and that was the most obvious one to me. If you want need any inspiration, go and watch that. I mean, it was everything about it. Well, apart from the start when they go 2 down, but even the way they dragged themselves into it's just great. And all the goals that Celtic scored that day were terrific as well. Just the way you like to see a Celtic team play, and also people say they've not seen that from Rodgers' team since he came back. We haven't. So there is a point to it all. Just that was a fluent attacking display in that second half. Celtic kind of dismantled them, switched off once, and Lionel Ainsworth scored, and that was it. But they even recovered from setbacks quickly, that kind of stuff. So I think these are all things that you can get into players' minds. So I wouldn't be averse to Rodgers, looking at that this week and saying to the players, "Okay, going to show you something here. This is what it means to be Celtic." Because they're not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of doom and gloom, and there's a lot of seemingly concession of the title and resignation among supporters. It's 2 points with 12 to go. You have to play Rangers twice, and as I wrote the other day, and a lot of people disagreed, but this manager's got the beating the Rangers. Just everyone else he has to beat. And so if that's the case, and you said yourself, Hamish, you felt a defeat to Rangers is in the post. But, I still maintain that the manager can tactically just seems to have the hex over Rangers, and his record's very, very good. So, if you want to start clinging on to positive, there's one right away. He's lost one Rangers game in his 2 tenures in charge so far. He's gone to Ibrox with a depleted side, and he's played them at Parkhead with vital players missing. So that doesn't appear to be the problem. The problem is getting results at places like Fir Park.
Yeah, and that's been a problem throughout his time at the club, as we said, 2 wins from 5. Even you're talking about that 2016 one. I'm talking about it, but this season as well is an obvious one. You can use that as both a warning in a way to the players of this is what can happen if you take your eye off the ball. Fir Park's a tough place to go, but equally those celebrations at the end, the fans are still behind you, and it may take something like that, like a kind of major turning point to get us out of this funk. I've not really changed from where I was on Monday, I'll be honest, guys. I think for me it's up to this team now to convince me that something's different now, because we've just had so many false dawns this season, and I'm like a broken record, and I've only been doing this channel for like 3 months, I think, at this stage, not even, and I feel like I've had so many times when I've gone, that's the moment, that's going to be the turning point, we'll kick on now, and maybe we do for a game, but then like something stops us in our tracks. So where I'm at the moment, obviously I'm going to support the team. I support every Celtic team, but for me it's up to them to show me something, to show them that they're up for this title fight. We need to see it on Sunday, Ryan.
Yeah, there's certainly a narrative now, if there wasn't one beforehand, that this Celtic team are a bit weak in some areas, especially against probably sides that they should be beating convincingly. I'd include Kilmarnock in there, despite the fact that they've been in good form this season. They beat them comfortably earlier on in the season at home. They got the draw on Saturday, which is obviously a bad result. Draw is like a defeat in this league, as I've always said, and it certainly felt like that on Saturday. It's up to the players to change this narrative and spin this narrative, because yes, they can win against Rangers. They've won twice this season. They've clearly got their number in that regard in terms of those players against Celtic's players. But they've got to change a narrative that there's not an attitude problem there, that they can beat Rangers but not other teams in the league. Rangers only accounts for 12 points in the league, the 4 times that you play them in the season. You've got to be picking up maximum points against the majority of teams that you play against in this league in order to win the title. That is what makes you champions at the end of the day. I think they will need to beat Rangers twice, or at least once in a draw, in order to win this title, along with maybe Rangers dropping points in another game. I know mathematically all that needs to happen is a win against Rangers, but the way that Celtic go at the moment, you're like, where else are they going to drop points? There's difficult fixtures, definitely, but they need to show fight, and they need to show character, and there are more than enough characters in that building that have been there under Ange Postecoglou, that were there previously under Brendan Rodgers as well. Even players that aren't even contributing, such as Scott Bain and James Forrest. These are the players that have got to be relied upon to G the other players up, to let them know that, right, you're in a title race, but this is still salvageable. The season is still salvageable, but everybody's got to be together. They've got to be united on that one front, and there's got to be that siege mentality. There was a siege mentality getting spoke about before the Kilmarnock game. It wouldn't have been a very good siege if it was based upon that last game. But from now until the end of the season, they have to be united in the one goal or the two goals, and that's win the cup and win the league. That is what is required of Celtic from now until the end of the season. And those players, and especially Callum McGregor and the more experienced pros, they've got to G everybody up. I'd include Joe Hart in that as well. They've got to tell the players that may be inexperienced at the pressures of being at Celtic that second isn't acceptable. Second is a disaster in this league, and they've got to be getting first place at all costs.
And you're probably finished at the club if you finish second. Like a lot of them, if we don't win the league this year, I don't think we'll survive for a second season. We've got 2 derbies to go out of the final 10 games. Say those are split, a couple of draws or a win apiece. You then get 10 other matches. Rangers are not going to win their final 10 matches. There will be points dropped somewhere. If we can find a way to try and find that consistency, even away from the derbies, as I say, if you kind of split the derbies, which may end up happening, something like that, like if we can find consistency in those other games and we're capable of it, this team are capable of it. They've just not really shown it to a great degree this season. Like it's still there to be won, but as I say, it's up to them to convince me more of that. Can I go through a few comments, guys? Because as I say, we're kind of asking for them today. Derry's saying, morning guys, I think Brendan needs to revert back to a high intensity, high press team, try to get a few goals up early so we don't throw games away. Maybe come back to the high pressing point. I mean, there's been loads of Brian asking, what can we do to stop the raw? A few other people asking, what we can do. For me, a big catalyst for getting us back on track is getting Kyogo firing, because I think Kyogo is good enough to lead this a struggling Celtic team to victory after victory. I think he's good enough, but we need to get him doing what he does best. And I want no more of Kyogo dropping into midfield, guys. I've had it. It doesn't work for me. I know he scored at the weekend, but he's not the Kyogo we know. I want him running last man, and I want more emphasis from the team to get in behind the opposition. None of this nonsense passing back. Be more direct, be more attacking, stretch the opposition, and I promise you'll see a difference if we do that. It's so frustrating that we don't do it. But thoughts on that, Tony, and also the Derry's point on the high intensity?
My thoughts on that have been uniform. Kyogo's a striker. Ryan will tell you. I bang on about it all the time. Players have natural positions for a reason. That guy will score you goals if he plays on the shoulder, as you say. He's an out-and-out finisher. He's a predator. He's a poacher. Call it what you like. He plays on instinct as well, and he's very good at it. He's the best striker in Scotland at it, bar none. So we have to just rip it up and play to that guy's strengths, because he could score the goals that lead you to the title if you play to his strengths, and I want to see that too. And if it means going 2 up top, that's what we need to do. Don't care. We just need to play 2 strikers, but he has to play in his natural position. And if it's either alongside them or so be it. It's Kyogo and another, and you have to find a way of getting the ball to him. And if that means as well that Iwata plays his part, comes in, and Callum McGregor 100%. goes further forward because he's better deployed further forward, then so be it. We have to do something. We've reached that point where we now sort of say, right, we're going to have to go for it, because good teams would have saw out the 1-0 against Motherwell at home. Good teams would have seen out the 1-0 against Kilmarnock on Saturday. Our championship winning teams, or teams going for a title, they would have eked it out. Granted, might not have been happy with the display, but they would have won the match. And look, first and foremost, we were saying the most important thing was to win the match. So there are going to be a few of them in the last 12 games, and there's going to be a few of them for the opposition as well. And remember, there is now a new pressure on the opposition, leading from the front and coping with that pressure and trying to get it over the line. So we'll see how they deal with it as well. But this will to and fro, I think, before the end of the season, and points will be dropped, because none of the two teams are going to win 12 out of 12, are they? I don't think so. You know?
No. There's going to be drop points. I mean, Rangers have been consistent, but they have narrowly won a lot of games. I mean, Aberdeen were fortunate to win that. St Mirren away, very fortunate to win that. So they're going to drop points. We just need to make sure we are taking advantage of it. Yeah. I mean, they've got Hearts at home on Saturday. I do think they'll probably win that because it's at home. But I mean, Hearts are in form, and it's not out with the realms of possibility that we've got a chance to go top again on Sunday. So, I mean, we've got a question in there: is this team capable of taking that opportunity? Gordon saying, do we have the bottle to take that opportunity? Is bottle an issue, Ryan, or is it just that we're not very good?
I think bottle has been an issue this season, to be honest. From winning positions, dropping points, that Motherwell game. We could talk about that the last time that we played Motherwell. It really sticks out in my head as being a point that I think Celtic had 2 penalties in that game as well. David Turnbull scored one of them. Was it Palmer that missed the one? It seems to be a common theme. Yeah, common theme this season. You're just you've got added time and just see out the game, and then it's a catalogue of errors at the back that lead to their equalising goal. It is bottle because the difference between the two sides at the moment is that Rangers are winning games narrowly and Celtic are dropping points narrowly. It's these fine margins that can be the difference throughout a season. One goal can equate to 2 drop points, and that can be really costly, especially if the other team win on the next day, or they win later on that day, or even at the same time. I just think there needs to be more character shown by the team. There needs to be now a united front, as I said before, that from now until the end of the season, if my voice doesn't go completely, there needs to be a united front between the players. I need a wee drink.
It was a great point he was about to make as well. No, I think, looking at the weekend, as I say, I want Kyogo on that last defender, and I want it to be obvious that we're going back. Like, maybe Rodgers needs to swallow a little bit of pride here. Maybe, just maybe, he thought, I kind of want to do things my own way, just kind of show off my class or whatever with Kyogo, and maybe, improve him in a way, even from what he was last season. It clearly hasn't worked. It's not the Kyogo that we know. It hasn't been all season, and we need him. Even someone pointed out, even his goal at the weekend, that was the old Kyogo. That's the kind of run Kyogo makes. We need, why are we not doing that? And I genuinely, we've got a lot of issues at the moment, but I genuinely think, see if you sort the Kyogo issue and get him firing, he's good enough to take us there.
See that goal just at the weekend there, and thankfully my voice is back, for good or for bad, whatever people say in this podcast, but it was Ralston just putting in the ball first time. You're looking at for that from the wingers in the game. You're looking for a bit of speed. Don't think about what you're doing. The worst thing that Celtic can probably do at this moment in time is think about what they're doing. Just do what comes naturally to you. Get the ball into the box. Kilmarnock's defence wasn't set, and Kyogo was there for a free header, a tremendous header, by the way, that's been lost in all of that, all of the negative discourse following the game. But it's a tremendous header. There doesn't be any pace on it. It's just so accurate, and it goes into the corner of the net. But that all comes by playing for a bit of speed. None of this keeping possession and then maybe another 1 or 2 passes before putting it into the box. By then, Kilmarnock are settled. Put it in first time, when they're not set, and see what can happen. Kyogo's there, Kyogo's free, and he gets the header off and he gets a goal. Celtic put a wee bit more speed in their game that was present under Ange Postecoglou, that high pace, that tempo. Then they'll score goals because opposition just aren't set. It's time to maybe stop showing as much respect as Celtic do towards the opponents and start attacking a lot quicker. Because if they do that, then I think they'll be fine. But there needs to be a bit more tempo in their game and a bit more speed, because at the moment it's too pedestrian. That horseshoe sort of style of play is just not going to cut it anymore. They need to up the tempo and get in behind and penetrate the defence.
But that's where he's at his most effective. Kilmarnock defence switched off, he switched on. Ralston was switched on enough to float that ball over. Bang, it's in the net. That's what Kyogo has done for the best part of 2.5 years, and he can still do it. He hasn't lost the ability to do that. He's just been taken out the area where he can do that and hurt teams the most. That's where he hurts teams the most. And I think you're right, Hamish. I think the manager has to say, right, we need a change here. He has to get back to doing what he does best. I've asked him to play a different way. It's not worked. This is where he's most effective, and he causes the most damage and causes the most havoc. And the players around him need to be switched on, because he didn't stop making those runs. He was just making them from deeper positions. But see, when you have a guy playing in the shoulder of the shoulder of the last defender, and he's making those runs, and you find him, it's one touch and it's in the net, basically.
Yeah,
that's basically that's what you're doing. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. But I've been banging on about that all season, and the manager can say what he like. He has asked him to play in a different style, and it's not worked.
Yeah, it's not worked, and we need to sort that. Because I think it helps Matt O'Reilly as well. I think he'll have more space to play, and I think he and Kyogo, you speak about Ralston, and I agree with that, but I think he and Kyogo have a good relationship. We saw that in the Champions League, and I think getting those two firing would be important. Midfield wise, Chilpil saying get Iwata into that midfield, strong, hard working, good in the tackle, can make a forward pass. What's not to like? There is always a tendency when the team's struggling to pick someone who isn't there and say they could do a job. I actually agree with Chilpil here, though. I think that Iwata is someone I would like to see, come back in. I think Iwata coming in and McGregor moving forward alongside Matt O'Reilly would be what I want to see on Sunday. Whether we will or not, I've got my doubts, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'd play Iwata. He's on the bench, he's ready to play. Motherwell, I think, should be the game that he makes his first start since, I think it was Feyenoord. It was his last game that he played.
Oh, is it?
Feyenoord, yeah. Remember he got injured? Yeah, he got injured pretty early on in the game. Celtic still won the game, but I just think the midfield looks a lot more solid when you've got Iwata there. Every good team in the world, name any good team right now, they've all got a good number 6 in their team. Celtic need a good number 6, a guy that can go from defence to midfield, and then the midfielders can do the rest. An extension of the defence, but you can also play passes. You look at Rodri, you look at past examples like Fabinho. Celtic need that example in there. I'm not saying that Iwata's anywhere near that level of player, but they need somebody like that can be in that position. I think it's fast becoming the most important position in football nowadays, because it just gives you complete control of the game. And they've got a really hard job in playing defence and playing the ball forward as well. But Iwata on Sunday for me is a must start. I think he'd be probably the first name on my team sheet if I was picking the team. There's a quick prediction for your predicted lineups, but he will definitely be there. I just think he brings so much solidity to the team. He was the J1 League Player of the Year 2 years ago, or a year and a bit ago. He's obviously got pedigree. I think he's been hard done by in his Celtic career so far. Not all of it's his fault due to injuries, but I just think the team looks a lot more solid. He's in the prime of his career, 26, just turning 27 soon, I think, as well. So he knows his game inside out. Fling him in. He's not a project. He'll be in there, and I think he'll solidify that midfield. And he'll free up McGregor. Some of his best performances were when Iwata was playing in the number 6, because McGregor could go forward without having that pressure to sort of look at the back line as well, or look after the back line. Leave that to Iwata. Iwata's happy doing that job and release Callum McGregor further forward.
I also think, Hamish, it gives Motherwell something to think about, doesn't it? If you do that on Sunday. Celtic have been too pedestrian and too predictable, and people have sussed it out. So if you just totally throw a spanner in that works and not go with what people might think will be the starting 11, then you're asking questions straight away, aren't you? And you're asking questions of, say, can you cope with this? And then you're asking your guys, particularly McGregor and O'Reilly, who I think are more effective further forward. And then also if you have Kyogo playing where he is, then I do think that O'Reilly and Kyogo can unlock defences, because the two of them, when they on song, he's able to pick out Kyogo, isn't he, Matt O'Reilly? He seems to have that kind of understanding, and he can see it early, that kind of stuff. So I think if you have Iwata there, then you're protected as well, aren't you? And you let McGregor and O'Reilly roam about And as I say, if Kyogo is in his natural position, then you're going to ask questions on Motherwell defence, certainly. And I would love to see that. Will he do it? Again, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it?
I don't know about you, but I'd play Bernardo on Sunday over Matt O'Reilly. I'd take him out the firing line and put Paulo Bernardo in. Because I actually thought he was okay when he came on against Kilmarnock. Yes, he wasn't the best player on the pitch. There was hardly any pass marks at all, but I thought he was bright when he came on. I also thought he was bright when he came on against St Mirren as well. I just think you need to take Matt O'Reilly out the firing line. I know he'll have 8 days to sort of recover between the Kilmarnock and the Motherwell game, but I want to take him out the firing line a bit. He's just not been himself the past few games. I don't know if that'll maybe hurt him even more though. So it's just all about balancing that. But put him on the bench, see if you get a reaction. If Kyogo's been dropped this season in parts for all. So
you're going to get a reaction from me. You can't drop O'Reilly. I just you got to let him play through it. I know he's not been. I think
he's hurting the team at the moment, Tony. I'll be honest with you. I think he's hurting with the way he's playing.
This might be extremely controversial. I would maybe have McGregor, ahead of O'Reilly on the droppable list. I just think McGregor's been really poor. I'm not saying I would do that at all. For me, the midfield, I'd want to see on Sundays Iwata, McGregor, and O'Reilly.
I would go with that and see, because you might be 5 points behind heading into that, and you're going to need players to stand up there at Fir Park, and I think those three probably represent your best bet. And it's nothing personal against Bernardo, who's been playing okay, but I'm giving Matt O'Reilly a chance to redeem himself, Ryan, before we talk about benching him. But but I agree that his performances of late have strayed into a non-contribution. Let's put it that way. If you're being kind.
I don't know what he's doing on the pitch at the moment, and that sounds quite harsh. But obviously looking at the stats after the game, and I said this on Monday, he's still doing the defensive work. He's still contributing in pressures. I think he was Celtic's highest pressure player in terms of pressurising the opposition. But at the same time, you don't really want to be pressurising the opposition when you're at home. Celtic should have the majority of the ball, and these numbers should be low. I just think maybe you'll get a reaction from him. The thing about McGregor, and I would probably take him out the firing line as well, but he's the captain, and unfortunately when it comes to captain, this was the case with his predecessor as well. Captains are pretty much undroppable, except for serious circumstances of dropped form. I can't see him getting dropped. He's one of the leaders in the team. He needs to step up. The midfield does need to step up, and I think that's been one of the good areas this season. You look at the performances of Matt O'Reilly that month or so that Paulo Bernardo had. Hatate was good when he's been in and out of the team. The midfield is what is going to win Celtic this league. I think if they are going to win this league at all, if that midfield is firing on all cylinders, then they will blow teams away. But if it falters like it has been faltering recently, then the league's a goner. They need to get back on track. The midfield will help absolutely everything if it gets back to the way it was. But in order to do that, it needs to be back on form, I would say.
I just feel like this entire season, certainly the last few months, has been us sitting here and probably other fans sitting in various places saying, he needs to come in this weekend, that'll get us going, and they need to do it. And Iwata seems to be the one now. And it's just like we need to see, as much as we talk about players coming in, and Iwata coming in I think would make a difference, and it's one I want to see. We just need to see more from that core of players as well. I mean, we've not even touched on the defence yet, but that defence, especially the centre backs, really need to stand up at Motherwell on Sunday. I'm assuming that'll be Welsh and Scales again.
Well,
I think Nawrocki has to come in. I think it's a must now. I don't know, either or. I just need probably Welsh out of the two, because Scales has also found himself in a position, at least until Carter Vickers comes back, but even then he might play alongside Carter Vickers, as being undroppable in this defensive lineup. Maybe it is time for a shake-up, and let's see Welsh and Nawrocki at back line.
I wouldn't say Scales is undroppable either. I think he's had a decent season, but I'm not having this that he's morphed into Beckenbauer type thing. You know, there's rickets in his game as well, and there's creaks that have been shown in the past while that you think to yourself, if Celtic could get Cameron Carter-Vickers back and a tune out on Nawrocki, then those two would be your two centre-backs moving forward.
That's been a big
and
blow,
I like Scales, and I just think, you know, he's starting to show that, you know, he's had his purple patch and everybody liked what he did and what he brought to the table, but, you know, he's starting to show signs of being, to me, moving forward, a backup defender. That's my thoughts, and that's what I'm seeing. But we have to go with him because he's all we've got. Well, he's not all we've got. We've got £8 million worth of central defenders that the manager clearly doesn't fancy, but he has to start fancying one of them soon. And out of the two, it's clearly going to have to be Nawrocki, doesn't it? Yeah.
A few people saying Nawrocki is quite good moving the ball forward. You know, for me, again, sorry guys, I'm not sold on him yet. I think
I'm not either. Hamish.
He looked ropey in a few of those away games. I mean, Pittodrie and Easter Road, he looked really ropey. So, is he a better option than Scales at the moment? For me, no. Liam Scales is a more proven player this season. Is he a better option than Stephen Welsh? Potentially, certainly has, you know, better pedigree than Stephen Welsh. I think all of these players would look good alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers. And I think that's the strength of
make
Cameron
them a better
Carter-Vickers.
player, yeah.
The issue, it was the same with Carl Starfelt. The issue is when Cameron Carter-Vickers isn't there, and it's like Nawrocki and Scales, or Scales and Welsh, and we look quite exposed. God, I know we all know it, but Carter-Vickers is like just such a huge miss, and getting him back and hopefully he can stay fit, and that could be a major. I mean, think how much more secure you guys would all feel going to Fir Park on Sunday with Carter-Vickers in that back line.
I just feel secure whenever I see Carter-Vickers' name on a team sheet. End of story.
Yeah.
It's Cameron Carter-Vickers and any other three. I don't particularly care, but whenever I see Cameron Carter-Vickers in that team, I'm just like, right, cool, because he has that steadying influence as well, that calming influence, and you know, you go back to that Hampden display against Rangers before he went in for his operation. None shall pass. You know, he just decided that day that I'm not losing. I'm doing my team a solid service before I go in for this operation, and threw himself in front of everything. And he gets players round about him to play as well because he is calm and he clearly talks. He's a different kind of captain and leader when McGregor in his absence, the manager said he was a different kind of, and you can see why. He's got that calming influence, and maybe not a great shouter, but can motivate players clearly, because he can motivate himself, and he strolled through his time at Celtic because he's quite elegant and he's quite a silky defender, and I've said before he's up there with the likes of Mark Reaper for me. I loved Mark Reaper when he played for Celtic and he made Stubbsy into a player, and Cameron Carter-Vickers is doing this with other guys. He's made Scales a player, he's made Welsh a player, and he's made Starfelt a player. Just because of his influence in that team, and he has been sadly missed, cannot get away from it. And if he can come back in at any stage in this run-in, you will breathe a wee bit more easily, because you know fine well that you might not concede. You know, as important goals like you coughed up against Motherwell at Celtic Park, and like you coughed up against Kilmarnock on Saturday there.
Just quickly, I want him back. I'm absolutely desperate for him to be back in that team, but he cannot be rushed back into this team. He has to be 100% fit, because, you know, even if that takes a couple of weeks after he is fully fit to be fully integrated into the squad, then I'm fine with that, because his influence is going to be so necessary from whenever he comes into the team back fully fit. From then until the end of the season, he could arguably be Celtic's most important player, because it's all about keeping those goals out. Celtic are conceding too many chances at the moment. Carter-Vickers stops a lot of those chances from happening. So if he is fit and he's available, and he's fully fit, like 100% fit, like he can't pick up another one of these injuries after 2-3 games, then play him till the end of the season. You know, that is just a requirement, but can't be throwing him in too quickly, because, you know, he's already got that kind of tag of being injury prone now after this season, and Celtic need to watch that. They need to watch with him, because he can't keep on picking up injuries. He's only as valuable as when he's on the pitch. If he's not on the pitch, then he's got absolutely no value, and it's unfortunate, but they need to keep him fit.
We've a duty of
Yeah.
care to him that we don't rush him back, Ryan, and
Yeah.
don't rush him back because we're in the midst of a title race with 12 games to go. This guy has to be 100%, not 90 or 85 or whatever, or he can get through 90 minutes. No, I don't want that. I want him solid. I want him flying when he comes back, and that's up to Celtic to bring him back at that optimum time.
Yeah. Plenty to still chat about, guys. We can resume this tomorrow and cover any other news that comes up between now and then. We've still got a good few shows to go before what is a huge match against Motherwell on Sunday. A big thanks, as always, to MPH Group and Navien for being this video's sponsor. MPH, as I'm sure you'll know, are Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trades specialists. They cover mainland Scotland, and they've got a Navien Boiler Promotion for you. You can find out more about that. You get a free Navien Internet Controller, flexible finance options, and much more there. As I say, we'll resume this tomorrow, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Sorry we didn't get through more of the comments. The conversation just kind of got away from us a little bit, but yeah, we'll move on from this, and hopefully Celtic, as we talk, are just doing the right things at Lennoxtown, and maybe we're about to see some sort of response on Sunday. Who knows? Ever the optimist, right? Thanks everyone.